year bioinformatics and systems bio PhD student. I also did my undergrad here at UCSD, and I am currently working with Professor Benjamin Smar, who is joint bioengineering and data science. And what I do on the daily is I work with physiological time series data. So I did not. I started off in human bio as a human bio major under the bio department, and I was interested in becoming some kind of a healthcare professional. So I did some volunteer work at the UC San Diego medical centers here, and I realized that that environment was just not really for me. I didn't like the like quote unquote vibe of it, I guess. Couldn't see myself doing it every day, but I was still interested just in healthcare and in general health. So although I didn't really want to work with patients, I figured that I could make some kind of computational or algorithmic contributions to the field of healthcare and just general well-being. So then I wanted to major in something kind of computational and useful to me in the future, and that ended up being cognitive science here at UCSD, and I also did a minor in math. I switched to bioinformatics because for me, it was my interest in specifically personalized healthcare and wanting to get a bit closer to my interests because CogSci was lovely. And I learned so much from CogSci, and I'm still super interested in CogSci. But switching away from CogSci was just a pivot to something I have even more of an interest in. My favorite class is from undergrad, and it's Cognitive Science 118C with Professor Eran Mukamel, and I believe the name for that class is Neural Signal Processing, I think. And it was my first exposure to working with time series data beyond just the raw time series X or Y versus X. And that was my first exposure to time frequency analysis, which I use quite a lot in lab nowadays. So that class really did benefit me and was super interesting, and um, it was really what got me interested in time series. Right now, I have a few projects in parallel, and the one that I'm closest to wrapping up and publishing makes the case for using longitudinal time series data to better gauge who is a responder or non-responder to some condition for applications such as clinical trials. And here we argue that longitudinal data is immensely useful for gauging the consistency of physiological responses to some repeated intervention rather than just looking at the start point and end point um, as many trials currently do. So it gives a lot more nuance than traditional methods might. So from a research perspective, we work with longitudinal data from, well, we being like me, our lab, we work with longitudinal data from tens of thousands of people, and there's so many analyses and open-ended explorations that you could do that it's super easy to get bogged down trying a bunch of things while not really making progress towards something that is publishable. And what's helped me prevent this is by creating something of like a project outline where I clearly define the thesis of a project and the individual pieces of it that help me work towards that. And if possible, this is getting pretty specific, but these specific analyses and statistical tests that I want to do on the specific pieces to help me get towards there. So it's pretty rigid, and it might be the case that at some point it just doesn't work out and you kind of have to abandon the project. But I like that it creates some kind of structure that I know what I'm working towards rather than just going in a million different directions. So for undergrad CogSci, um, I would say that the major has such a breadth of courses ever since, well, I've been out of CogSci for 3 years now or so. And since then, they've added a lot of courses. So, make use of your electives, explore a bit, and, gain some computational skills along the way is what I would recommend because that'll likely open up more opportunities for you than if you don't. And now for grad school bioinformatics, kind of the same advice, really. just use your PhD rotations to explore different areas of research with different PIs. And also, it's important that you find out whether you're a good fit for the lab in a social sense, not necessarily research, since you're going to be spending about 5 or so years of your life here. You don't want to be miserable every day. I would say to just go for it. Just cold email people. That seems to get better responses for me than applying on like the UCSD job site or whatever, like Handshake or something. So I would just cold email, be polite, make sure that you actually know what the person you emailed works on, that you are actually familiar with some of their recent research and interests. Um, and I also mentioned the project outline a little bit ago, and this might be a good thing to create once you actually get your foot into the door of a lab, because PIs love it when you have your own research ideas. It's really simply the fact that they are busy people. So if you come into the lab with kind of even like a vague research idea, they or some grad student won't have to think of something entirely novel for you to do. So it's really taking a load off of them. Basically, the same reason I was interested in switching over to bioinformatics. I was interested in personal health, hence why I chose um, the bioinformatics and systems bio PhD program here. And just in general, I applied to PhD programs that were in the realm of bioinformatics, computational bio, and even CSE and ECE programs that had people affiliated with them that had a biological interest, that actually placed some kind of emphasis on the biology. And another factor was, I just kind of mentioned, are the people affiliated with this program people that I'm actually interested in working with? Like, do I like their recent research? Do I think we might vibe well in research interests? So that very last one is probably the biggest factor, honestly. So after my PhD, I would like to go into industry and keep doing research. And I would like to keep working with physiological time series data. And at that point, that is all I'm certain about at this moment. Throughout higher education and your career, I suppose, you can end up in places that you really didn't have any intention of being a couple of years back. And that's totally fine as long as you enjoy what you're doing, you are reasonably good at it, and it supports whatever kind of lifestyle that you want. So just go with it.